It's a current restraint. It's an active thing we have to do. It's a sacrifice of desire, meaning that it's not going to be very fun, and it's going to be for future benefit. So there is a positive return on investment for us. He was known to be a man who, in salah, he was like a wall. He wouldn't even move. How many times do we have like I'm going to try and do it, like when we're like this? Like sometimes you hit that like up and down, up, sway, up, type. It's because we're not as disciplined. It takes discipline to stand there completely still without any waswas. It takes discipline to have sabr. So all you really have to do is the more you actually become disciplined, the more disciplined you get. There is no secret sauce. There is no special way. It's just pain. The more pain you put yourself under today, the better your discipline will be, and i.e. the better your situation in the future. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Sultan, and today we're going to be going through the entire full guide of how to cultivate discipline according to Islam. As you can see with the overview here, we are going to be going through what is discipline according to Islam, how is discipline cultivated, and the practical steps to cultivate discipline in your life. Bi-idhnillah azza wa jal, let's get straight into it. So, what is discipline according to Islam? So let's look at the first principles of discipline. Discipline is self-control. Like the definition of discipline, one of them is self-control, and the definition of self-control is restraint exercised over one's impulses, emotions, or desires. And my definition, according to the Islamic lens, discipline is the practice of using your free will, your irada, to override the natural desires or hawa or shahawat for a benefit in this life and or the next. So the goal is to use your free will against your natural desires for a future benefit in this life or the next. That's ultimately what discipline with the Islamic lens looks like. Now, the factors of discipline we take from this is that it's a current restraint. It's an active thing we have to do. It's a sacrifice of desire, meaning that it's not going to be very fun, and it's going to be for future benefit. So there is a positive return on investment for us. It's good for us. And discipline is something we actively have to do to get a positive return on investment by sacrificing our desires. So we want to benefit, and we have to actively go through pain to achieve the benefit in the future. That's ultimately what discipline is. But what is the role of discipline in a successful Muslim's life? The ideal Muslim male life in the dunya is to cultivate an excellence of character, like to be as close to Rasulullah ﷺ as we humanly can. To be an excellence in character, excellence in manners, excellence in deeds, excellence to the benefit of the ummah, to attain a good portion of the dunya, but to be very focused on what we do to serve this nation and what we do to serve Allah Azza wa Jal. And in the akhirah level, it's to attain the mercy of Allah Azza wa Jal, to get to Jannah, and to do all these things I just mentioned. The only skill you require, of course you need tawheed as a belief, but the only real deep skill that is foundational is discipline. Allah Azza wa Jal said, as for him who feared to stand before his Lord, and he restrained himself from his desires, then paradise will be his refuge. In the Quran, Allah Azza wa Jal speaks about this act of using your free will to restrain yourself from the desires that we spoke about. But what is the equation for a successful life, right? Ultimately, it's sabr in hardship, excess of good deeds, good portion of dunya, and impactful benefit to the ummah, which equals success. Meaning that you deal with the hardship in life, you do a lot of good deeds, you take your portion of the dunya, and you're impactful in the ummah, mukhlisan lillah, right? The point is you want to please Allah Azza wa Jal and you want to do a good thing in the ummah. That's a success in the akhirah, right? That's a successful life. And the foundation of all these things I just said, all the other things, is self-discipline. As a Muslim, we have literally no choice but to become masters at discipline. Without it, we are literally putting ourselves at the position of losing the dunya and the akhirah. What I mean by that, I'm about to say it. Without it, we're also putting the ummah in a danger of being weak. If we aren't disciplined, the rijal or the upcoming generation of men in this ummah, we are going to be putting the ummah at a weakness. Now, without discipline, there's no sabr. There's no endurance through hardship. Because you cannot control yourself from lashing out and complaining and shouting and doing haram. There is no character refinement. There is no tazkiyah nafs. There is no jihad of the nafs. There is no becoming better and building yourself in terms of your character and your manners and you're going away from your sins. There is no striving for deeds. Salah is hard, akhi. 5 times salawat your entire life without missing one is very difficult. It's a very difficult, consistent discipline. When you are exhausted, when you're playing video games, akhi, and you're getting waswas, nah bro, just miss the salah. You gotta deal with it. And same thing comes with the benefit of the dunya and the good in the dunya. In terms of the benefit of the ummah. The benefit of the ummah and the dunya, it's gonna be difficult. Nobody who has set on a path for a truly successful life by impacting good people and doing khair, yani for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal, has ever had an easy life. It's always gonna take discipline, even in the good of the dunya. If you wanna earn rizq from Allah Azza wa Jal to provide for your family, it's hard. If you want to have a good body to give good sadaqah to your wife in spouse relations, it's hard. If you want to be a good parent, it's hard. If you want to be a good anything in dunya, anything good in dunya is hard. And anything good in the akhirah is hard. Jannah is not cheap. Jannah is not cheap and it's not free. This is the problem that people have. And without this, we cannot override our natural desires for a future benefit. We are cooked. I'm just being serious. We're cooked. Because if we cannot fix discipline, we don't fix our deen and akhirah and our dunya. And so we have to cultivate it no matter the cost, no matter the pain. There's no way out, because the opposite of not bearing discipline is too hard to not bearing discipline is too hard to bear. We can't handle Jahannam. We can't handle Jahannam due to not doing salawat and not being on deen and doing whatever your desires wants. And we cannot deal with the pain of dunya alone, not being disciplined. Because we'll have the ummah in hardship, as we have now. Our family will be in hardship because we don't work. We would lose the dunya and the good of the dunya, and we'd lose the akhirah. And so there is no point to even being here if we aren't going to be disciplined men. And this is what we have to return to. Let's look at this legacy of Sahaba. Abdullah ibn Zubayr. Look at his salah, akhi. I'm embarrassed to even tell you, the so many, may Allah Azza wa Jal make it so easy for us to get to this level of salah in the future. But so much waswas, horrible khushu. Most of us, we do it as fast as possible if we are those who even do it 5 times a day. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant us the ability to do it. But Abdullah ibn Zubayr, if you haven't heard the story, when he was Khalifa in Mecca, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf was sending catapults. If you don't know who he is, he's a dangerous, mean man in history. And he was sending catapults of I think it was big rocks into Mecca, and one of them hit close to him, and actually I think some level of shrapnel, I'm not going to say shrapnel, but pieces came close to him and touched him, harmed him in some sort of way. And he was in salah and he stood still. He was known to be a man who in salah he was like a wall. He wouldn't even move. How many times do we have I'm going to try and do it when we're like this, sometimes you hit that up and down, up, sway, up, it's because we're not as disciplined. It takes discipline to stand there completely still without any waswas. It takes discipline to have sabr. Look at Uthman ibn Affan, when he was Khalifa and he was told by Rasulullah ﷺ to have sabr when the people wanted to take his leadership, he literally did not kill anybody, and then he got martyred in a brutal way. Look at that him restraining himself. He could have, if you don't know, Uthman ibn Affan got besieged in his own home as Khalifa from the Khawarij. And he had the ability to send multiple Sahaba to destroy this uprising. But he bared that patience. He didn't want to have bloodshed in the Muslim Ummah. Right? Look at Umar ibn Khattab. To have that level of zuhud, of being the king who goes to get the keys of Jerusalem, right? Of Al-Quds, in his shabby clothing. A man who as Khalifa, he basically took nothing, and he did so much. That takes a lot of discipline of rejecting that stuff and his zuhud. Even Abu Bakr as-Siddiq and his charity, look at how much he paid for Bilal's freedom, radiallahu, right? And even in the way that he was always very charitable. Same with Uthman ibn Affan, Umar ibn Khattab. These were charitable Sahaba. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf, as I'm about to say, in terms of his wealth. He could have had a huge fitna, but it took a lot of discipline to not waste it on that which is haram and desires, and to waste it for the sake of Allah Azza wa Jal. Uthman ibn Affan giving millions of US dollars in equivalent to fund Tabuk against doing something bad. This takes discipline. To give $2 million. This is what we used to be. Not in terms of just discipline for dunya, but discipline for the deen and the akhirah as well. I think we forget this as men. Now, how is discipline cultivated? Discipline is cultivated like a muscle. Okay, and I know you've heard this 1,000 times, but let's look at the foundations of building muscle, right? So one of the things you need is good diet. You need to eat correctly. Let's say if you're bulking, You need to eat clean and you need the right calories. Next, you need good sleep, about 7 to 8 hours. And next, you need good training. You need the correct, yani, pain. Like, I just came from the gym, and the goal that I honestly just have is just suffer as long. Like, the more pain you get, the more gains you get. Like, basically, you need to hit hypertrophy, and then you need consistency over time. And the only thing that makes or breaks building muscle, you can have horrible sleep, you can have minimal training, you can have diet, but if you do not have consistency, you will not build muscle. If you negate everything else and you do just a little bit sloppy and you mess it up, it's gonna be fine. You'll still get somewhere if you are consistent with those things. But if you aren't consistent, it's a mess. And so the simplest way to build discipline, like you do to build muscle, is to be disciplined. Like just doing it consistently. I.e., force yourself to constantly choose your free will to override your natural desire. There is no secret. There is no special sauce. Okay? As I'm about to say, the equation of discipline is the number of times that desire is overridden times by the hours under free willed actions is discipline. Meaning, right, in terms of the equation, I want you to think of this. The amount of times that you override your desires, for example, let's say you want to watch Haram, right? So let's say you want to watch Haram once, you get waswas. You say no. No, I'm going to have self-discipline. Times that by the hours under which you continued in that will. You had a natural desire to watch Haram. By the way, you can click the third link in the description to annihilate it for the rest of your life. Bismillah Azza wa Jal. Such a disease in the Ummah. May Allah protect us. But the amount of times that you say, I don't want to watch Haram, and the amount of hours times the hours of how long you stayed in that action and did not do Haram is how much discipline you have. So with everything you do, the more times you do it, and for the longer time you do it, the more discipline you have. So all you really have to do is the more you actually become disciplined, the more disciplined you get. There is no secret sauce. There is no special way. It's just pain. The more pain you put yourself under today, the better your discipline will be, and i.e. the better your situation in the future. The more ibadah you do today, the more deeds you will get. Bi'idhnillah, the better your situation in the akhirah. The more pain you do today in work, the more results you will get in the future, the more money you will make in the future, bi'idhnillah, to do good with it. May Allah Azza wa Jal allow us to be righteous with our wealth. Amen. But you get my point. Discipline is just being in pain a lot, right? Whether it's salah, whether it's sabr, whether it's training, whether it's working, whether it's Quran, the more pain you're in throughout the day, the better you are at discipline. For example, me, like, I was trying to really think about how do you become disciplined, right? I was really thinking about my life because alhamdulillah, I've been on self-development for like almost 5 years now. Ever since I was 15, I'm almost 20. I was 14 actually. 14 and a half. And I honestly don't really know how to attribute what built my discipline. But what I do know is that I just did things that sucked and sometimes failed and then failed a lot and sometimes I'd win. And I just kept doing things that sucked and trying to be better and trying to be better at the things. And at some point, I just found ease in it. Like working. There was a time in my life where filming videos for my TikTok channel at the time, a few years ago, was so hard. I wasn't consistent. I wasn't good. You know, I hope, bi'idhnillah, I'm beneficial now in some sort of sense to you. May Allah Azza wa Jal bless you guys for watching. But I used to be so inconsistent. My videos were horrible. My discipline of actually recording was horrible. But trying to actually be on this, like, you know, content thing for enough time, I just became better at the discipline of just recording. Right now, I really would like to go and eat and not record. But because I know I have to, I just do it. But because I've done it so many times, it's like reps. It's like, you know, in the gym, when you like lift your weight and increase your weight on any machine, it just happens naturally. Because you just went through the motions of building your strength in that. It's the same thing with discipline, literally. It's just doing it long enough times. Like, for example, let's say salah. It's just about starting with one salah, and then 2, and then 3, and then 4, and then 5, and you build it. And you just keep doing it, and keep doing it, keep doing it. To some point, perhaps before you would never have prayed salah. Perhaps it was really hard. But then you get to a point where you do 5, and it's like that becomes you. That's identity, which I'm going to go through in a secret project I'll tell you guys about in the future. But anyway, how long does it take, right? So now that we know what we have to do, which is basically just be disciplined. There is no secret sauce. It's just about doing the things we know we should do more times and failing and winning and failing and winning as we'll go through. But you will see in terms of times, 2 weeks, 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, there's many results for discipline. And discipline is very exponential. So like I said, years ago for me, when I just started trying to be disciplined on self-development of some sorts, and even in the deen, my discipline for ibadah and my discipline for whatever good in dunya I'm trying to build was much worse than it was before, right? Like, let's say, for example, in 2 weeks, you can think of it like unlocking 2 hours of discipline. Right now, let's just imagine someone who just doom scrolls, and he starts trying to be disciplined. In the first 2 weeks, he'll unlock the ability to be disciplined for 2 hours. And in the first year of constantly trying, he will unlock 6 hours of being disciplined. And in the first 3 years, then he'll unlock 10 hours of his day, in terms of every day. And then after 5 years, he'll be able to be disciplined for 16 hours straight, 5 days a week, nonstop. And that is the compounding discipline effect. So think of it like a battle pass, for lack of a better word. I was thinking about when I was a kid playing Fortnite Battle Royale, and I would, the season would bring the challenges, right? So you'd look at the challenge, and then you would go to the game, and you just try and get XP to complete the challenge. And through the challenges, you get the XP, and the XP equals the tiers, and then you get tier 100, right? So think of it like that. When you're looking at getting, it's not going to be like a quick switch. It's going to be constantly working towards unlocking higher tiers of discipline. Let's say for 1 year, you get 10 tiers of discipline. And then in the third year, you get 20 tiers of discipline. Until you keep going until to the point where you can be disciplined. You have learned. You have spent enough time, as I said before. You have been disciplined enough times. You overrode desires enough times for longer time, which means you built discipline, and you get to the point where it's not very difficult, and you get to the point where you can do it for long periods of time, right? So let's get into practical steps to cultivating discipline. Now that we've, gone through what discipline really, like how do you build it, etc., which is over here, just going through the motions, right? Going through that overriding for a long enough time, and then just doing it. Just going through it. And we're going to go through practically what does this mean. Like, we understand that we just have to do it, and we understand it's going to take some time. But how do we, astaghfirullah, how do we practically build this every day, right? So here's some tips and ways that we are going to actually apply these principles of doing the discipline and waiting the time to build it in our lives. Now, the first principle and the practical step meaning is dopamine loading. So this is something I used to do back in late 2023 when I just reconnected to the deen, and late 2024. So in late 2023, I had November exams, and I used to watch a lot of TikTok, like in terms of Islamic FYP and stuff. And so I used to study the whole day, and then at about 6 o'clock, scheduled 6 o'clock, I would just scroll for like 45 minutes, and then I would go bath, turn on my phone, go to sleep, wake up, study again. But what I found is that it allowed me to be disciplined for a longer period of time by giving myself restricted dopamine. And I started doing the same thing in late 2024 for my grade 12 exams, where, again, I would, and even before that, I would work a long period of the day, and then at the end of the day, I would let myself, scroll, watch YouTube, whatever. I would have this ability, even when I say the vault method, I used to basically put my phone in a cupboard, and at the end of the day, I would open my phone, check the phone, use the phone, then put it back, right? And what we're aiming to do with dopamine loading is just restricting dopamine until the end of the day. So for example, like I said, you study all day. Let's say you go to school. Let's say you go to school from 6 to 2, and then you study for 3 hours. So from 2 plus 3, let's say why is my math cooked, bro? Is that 5? Yeah, it's 5. 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock comes around, and you read for an hour, and now it's 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock, you now can scroll for another 2 hours, and then at 9 o'clock, you can go to sleep. You could do the same thing with work. So you can somewhat override that natural compound effect we just talked about. So like I said, it takes time to build discipline, but we can unlock more discipline in quicker time by giving ourselves this restriction of dopamine, right? Because actually it gives us dopamine to wait for the time where we can use to get stimulation. because you'll be constantly desiring and waiting for that time you can do stuff. But like I said, don't get rid of everything, right? Don't get rid of all your doom scrolling. Don't get rid of all your horrible habits all the time in terms of if it's not haram. If it's haram, you got to get rid of it. But for example, let's say doom scrolling. Some people, when they watch these videos, they think they're just going to, boom, magic change. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to just focus on restricting that which you don't like. Even video games, for example. If you play video games multiple times throughout the day or whatever, just focus on getting it at the end of the day and doing beneficial things. But I think that's not the case for you guys. But for doom scrolling or wasting your time on your phone or messaging, etc., try and move that to the end, not just removing it. And so the action step for using dopamine loading is to position a block at the end of your day for about 1 to 3 hours of just, doom scrolling, watching YouTube, whatever you want to do to like waste your time and let yourself have that moment. But the rest of the day, you do something good. And we'll speak about that just now. But there is a danger. Because you've used discipline, this later time in your day, you will have less discipline points, right? Which we'll speak about as a battery. But the goal is to force yourself to go to sleep at the correct time. And this is something that I struggle with and I'm really fixing with dopamine loading, which is to force yourself to go to bed at the right time. When I did it in 2023, it worked because I had the pressure of exams. I had to go to bed at the right time. But now that I'm out of school, I don't have to go. I should go. It's fajr, etc. But I'm not forced to go. So that's the problem. You have to force yourself to go to bed at the right time to get good sleep, as we'll speak about just now. But okay. The second thing you can do in terms of building discipline is to remove cognitive load. Now, cognitive load is basically like, on a PC, when you open like Task Manager, and you got all these little thingy-mabobs in there, taking up the RAM, that's basically what's happening in your mind. When you're trying to be disciplined, discipline is like a battery, right? So every time you try and be disciplined, you're spending discipline points in the day. So for example, let's say waking up for Fajr is like, actually not even 3, it should be 10 because you got to wake up early. You wake up for Fajr, it's 10 discipline points. After Fajr, you don't go back to sleep, you read Quran, so you take 7 discipline points. After that, you do deep work, that's 30 discipline points. Then you'd go to school, and that's another 30 discipline points. But what you don't realize is to make the decision of what you want to do and what you're doing throughout the day and decisions just in general, you take 15 discipline points. And if you were to remove decisions, you would have an extra 15 more points, meaning you would be less prone to doing dumb things. Because the only reason we actually waste time at the end of the day, especially at the end of the day, after school day, etc., is because we wasted discipline points and now we don't have any more. And if you don't have any more, or at least you're not willing to go into taking from tomorrow, which is another thing. If you don't have any more discipline points, you will not be able to overcome that will. Which is why Shaitan comes at you at the most inopportune of times. On the weekend, he lets you do your whole thing. Come Friday night, akhi, go watch Haram, bro. Because he knows you've used a lot of discipline points. And so if we remove decisions from there, you have so much more points and energy to not only do more good things, but also fight against, jihad, etc. in terms of al-nafs, because this will come. And so what we need to do to remove decisions is to stop deciding if we're doing a good job, right? Which means we have to stop deciding if we had a good day. We have to stop deciding what we're going to do throughout the day, and we have to stop deciding what we're going to do at the moment. Everything that comes through with, if it's a good day, what we're going to do, and what we're going to do right now in terms of work should be delegated. So what we're going to do to build that is something that has changed my life, walillah alhamd, which is, and people underrated, people don't listen to me. My brothers and brothers who are watching this video, I have so many people who join my community, and some of them don't have schedules, and I don't know what you're doing. I talk about schedules all the time, guys. I love it for the sake of Allah. Please listen to me. The first thing you should do is get a habit tracker. Second thing you need to do is get a schedule. And the third thing you need is get a to-do list. The reason I say habit tracker is, for example, no, I don't want to show that. I have my own habit tracker, but I don't want to show it. So what habit trackers will do is that it will give you punishment decision. So the decision you have, whether you had a good day, i.e. did I scroll all day and did I do well all day, you don't have to think about it. because you have a tracker that shows you if you did good and did bad. So you can adequately now decide if you're going in the right direction. You may think that you don't have decisions like this, but you know if you've had a good day or bad day. And you think about that. You have to ponder, did I do it well? Did I not do it well? What do I have to do, etc. To get rid of understanding if I did it well or not, and if I am on the path to my goals in life and dunya and akhir, etc. or not, this is completely delegating the problem. You just put the little ticks and crosses of whatever you need to do. In terms of habit tracker, you can Google how to do this. Atomic Habits explains as well. You can use it. But you basically just put like habits and then you tick or cross what you did. And at the end of the day, you will know if I did more good than bad or more bad than good, and if I'm on track. After a week, you can see if I'm really off the wagon or if I'm really on the wagon, right? You can see where you're going. And therefore, you don't have to waste this decision points and a mental fatigue questioning if you're doing something correctly. Like you're doing your path correctly as a man. Next thing is schedules. Now, schedules, I have had a schedule since I was 14 years old. It is the best thing I have ever had, ever, in terms of a system in my life and habits and self-development. So beneficial, alhamdulillah. Like, even just to do ibadah things, it helps a lot. So what schedules will do is that will remove your idea of daily decisions. You stop thinking. You get to a point where you know the time, I know the time is X, I just move. Because if you have to decide if you want to do something good, it makes life so hard. Because you spend those discipline points, right? But if you get to the point where your entire day is a habit, if you don't know, habits are basically just regular behaviors to the point that it's automatic. So if your whole day is automatic, you don't have to think, am I going to work? Am I not going to work? Because it's automatic. I've trained myself to do it. So we want to train ourselves to do disciplined days by removing the idea that we have to think about if we're going to do it or not. And that's what schedules do. Every single hour, every single moment of the day, we know exactly what's happening. And therefore, you don't have to think. You just look and you act. You don't have to think if you want to do something or what should I do or when should I do it? When is the most optimal time? Those decisions take fatigue, which makes it harder to be more disciplined because it takes away from your discipline battery, right? And the last thing is to-do lists. So to-do lists are going to help you with tasks. So perhaps you need to study for a program, perhaps you need to study for school, perhaps you need to university assignments, etc. You have to know exactly what you're working on, because there's no use working or having a work time, but then you don't really know what you're working on, right? So you need to know exactly what you need to do in that moment to move the needle in whatever you're doing, whether it's deep work for a business, for a job, or for university, right? If you have a university assignment and you need to write a paper, how many days do you need doing that paper? Because most of us, when we study, even I remember when I was in school, I used to do this. And even in work, I used to do this. Where I would just sit there doing things, but I wasn't really making a difference. Because I wasn't focused on what I needed to do to get an output that I wanted, right? And that's what to-do lists help with. You have a to-do list and you tick it off, etc. And this will make it so much easier to be disciplined because it automates decisions that you don't need to make anymore, and you have more points in your battery to do. So the action step for this step in terms of building discipline is to create and use a habit tracker, schedule, and to-do list. And if you want to make that version and possible, if you want to make this easier, you can just join the Majlis network in the second link in the description, where you will get a community of like-minded brothers who are going to keep you accountable. We actually have a habit tracker in our network every single day, so you can force yourself to be more disciplined and more doing this habit tracker, not even having your own thing. You have accountability from the group, accountability like actually tracking, and of course information on PDFs and videos on how to build habit trackers, how to build schedules, how to build to-do lists. All that stuff is also there as well. More niche things on Islamic self-development. So join it. It's an incredible network of young Muslim men on self-development. If you're a young Muslim man on self-development, I don't see why you shouldn't be there. It's so little amount, so much benefit for you. Bi-idhnillah azza wa jal. If you're struggling with discipline, this is the perfect thing for you. Second link in the description. Bi-idhnillah is going to benefit you so much. Now, number 3 is progressive overload. So building discipline practically. I know that we spoke about doing discipline, like that's the foundations of how we build it. We build it by doing it. Now, what does that mean, right? So it's not as complicated as you once thought. You build discipline by just pushing more and more load in your discipline skill over time. It's literally like building muscle. Like that's the easiest way I can explain it. It's just, think about the gym. It's just about more weight, right? The more weight you do for the longer reps, the higher the muscle. The more weight of discipline, meaning the time that you spend. Even time under tension is a thing in muscle building. It's the same thing in discipline. The more weight for the more reps with the best control, i.e. time under tension, and you fix your negatives, etc., that is going to be the best and most optimal way to grow your muscle. It's the same thing with discipline. The more discipline you use with the higher points that you spend for the longer time, the more you are building that muscle. So the easiest way is really just think about adding discipline weight. And the way that you add discipline weight to your discipline skill is simply by just doing your schedule. So we said you have dopamine loading, right? So you have your dopamine time. Stop thinking about dopamine. You're going to have that dopamine time. You're going to doom scroll later in the day. Towards the end, you're going to sleep at the right time. Sleep is very important, as we're going to get to. But the rest of the day, we have a schedule. We have a to-do list. We have a habit tracker. We have all these things we have to do. Now, all they have to do to build discipline is just do it. And the more that you do it and just start and try and complete everything, you will get better. And in the beginning, you will fail. You will fail days, you will succeed at days. I remember when I started building discipline, I had days, very seldom did I get all 5 check marks on my habit tracker. Very seldom did I achieve everything in my schedule. Very seldom did I do all my to-do lists, even today. Life happens, bro. But if you try and you keep pushing to be disciplined, I am telling you, you will then start failing less. You will start getting less crosses, and then you won't fail. Alhamdulillah, I'm at the point where my habit tracker on the network, because we have a group habit tracker, is always ticks. It's very, very rare that I get an X when I'm supposed to work. I'm supposed to be disciplined. I'm disciplined about 5 days a week. 2 days a week, I'm on holiday, basically. But for the days I'm supposed to be disciplined and working in the week and productive, I'm a monster. But alhamdulillah, it's the grace of Allah Azza wa Jal. But that is because I spent almost half a decade doing this. It's by just trying to be more disciplined and trying to do it, to force myself to override those desires and get in those situations and have to push that muscle and go through that I just built the skill. And that's what's going to happen. It's the same when I learned how to drive manual. Driving manual sucks butt. But the only way I learned how to drive manual was to get in the car and drive. It's the same thing with discipline. It's the same thing with muscles. The only way you're going to build muscle is if you get in the gym and you lift. And over time, you just know how to drive. You just know how to be disciplined. You just know how to build muscle. And you just build muscle. It just happens over time because you're consistent. And because you do it. And so I'm telling you, you will surpass anything you think you could do of discipline if you just start now and fail. This is discipline. Practically as fast as possible. I've seen so many people say so many things. The best way to build discipline is just to be disciplined. And you're going to fail at it and you're going to succeed at it. And over time, you're just going to learn how to do it. It's literally like driving a manual car. The action step for this is just to start to complete every single day, 5 to 6 times a week, your habit tracker, your schedule, and your to-do list. Okay? Your schedule for the day, for your good habits in your deen, building your deen, your Quran, your salah, your seeking of knowledge, your listening to reminders, you're going to the masjid, and your good things in the dunya, your training and being fit, your working on a job or a business in the future / university, building and working on yourself in this sense, and doing those things that suck in the week, just doing that every single day, 5 to 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, just do it. Follow your schedule, go and try and really aim to get all ticks. Some days you will, some days you won't. And you will surprise yourself by using these tips I just said. Dopamine loading, in terms of removing cognitive load, and now progressive overload. This is how we do it. By doing these 2 things, you would have already basically circumvalated the problems I had for 3 years, which is not knowing where to put my discipline and not knowing how discipline works, and also not knowing how to section out discipline. That is literally these 3 things I just probably saved you 3 years, honestly, of what I had to go through. But the 4th thing is also something I still don't do. Sleep. I have really bad sleep. I'm not going to lie to you. And it ruins my discipline. I probably could be abnormal with I could probably monster. Bidnillah Azza wa Jal. I've been doing this for so long. I really think I could be so much better if I just slept more. So don't listen to these hustlers and just work and 2 hours of sleep. And sleep is the most important factor to your grind. Whether it's deen or dunya, is so important. It's a slept on tactic, as I wrote here. Sleep is number one. Please laugh. Sleep is the number one factor for worse discipline. For example, if somebody sleeps less, like 3 less hours for 3 nights, you will see a huge diminishment of your discipline battery. Like, even for me, I'll tell you just now, but versus the person who sleeps an extra hour for 3 nights, you will replenish the discipline battery. Every time you sleep, you are replenishing your discipline battery. So if you sleep less, you just have less discipline battery for the next day. And if you sleep more, I need to some extent until past 8.5, 9 is a bit too much. If you sleep more than that, you will not have, you will also deplete your battery because it's too much. But if you sleep at the right time, 7 to 9 hours, I would actually, in reality, it's 8 hours, 8 to 9 hours. 8 to 9 hours a night, honestly, you sleep that, you will get so much more exponential sleep battery. Honestly, as I say, if you want to be more disciplined, you really just need more sleep. It's like a direct correlation. More sleep equals more discipline to an extent, right? The more sleep until 9 hours is the more discipline, frankly. Now, my story is honestly, I have had, school and work and things like that for the past 3 years. So I just got used to drinking coffee when I wake up, praying Fajr, and going to work hard, going to the gym. I drop in energy. I use my dopamine time at the end of the day to replenish my energy, and then I do the cycle. So then I will perhaps mess my sleep up a little bit. And then I wake up, drink coffee to stop the tiredness, go and pray, go and do my hard work, go to the gym, get tired in the middle of the afternoon, right? Like right now, normally. And now I train myself to be disciplined at this time, but before it was really bad. And then you just use dopamine to replenish your energy, because using dopamine, and at the end of the day, by dopamine I mean doom scrolling. Using doom scrolling to replenish your discipline energy, and then you sleep later, and then you mess up your discipline, and it's a cycle. And so the action step, if I could tell you one thing from this discipline guide, is just sleep 8 hours and go to bed 8 hours and 30 minutes before you must wake up. I'm really going to focus on this today. I'm really going to focus on this because I also don't want to be a hypocrite. This is something that I know is going to exponentially grow your discipline. And the danger is that this is very hard. But, like this is hard. The discipline isn't about waking up at 4 or 5 a.m., etc. The discipline is going to sleep at the right time. Of course, you have to wake up for Fajr, so we have to wake up at 4 or 5 a.m. But if you are disciplined the day before, you set yourself up for success in the next day. The same way that if you're disciplined in dunya, you set yourself up for success in akhirah. You got to think of that in the days as well. If you're disciplined at night, you set yourself up for success in the day. And that is how you cultivate discipline according to Islam and science-based principles. Bi'idhnillah Azza wa Jalla is beneficial. Please just pause through the video. You should have been taking notes about the 3 different ways that we can practically do that. And let's get into the last thing, which is spiritual discipline, which is that discipline is core to jihadun nafs, right? Jihadun nafs at the end of the day is that ability to use your free will, as I said, to override those natural desires. But we seem to lack it the most in our generation of the ummah. Not jihad al-nafs, specifically spiritual discipline. With this pandemic of prawn content on Instagram, these girls on TikTok and websites, and these things, watching haram, still holds us back from being those Muslims that we know we can be. Those students of knowledge, those men on self-improvement, that type of man that you dream to be, this is what's holding you back. And it's a disease. Watching haram is a disease that you go through that you don't want to do anymore, that we have to annihilate. And so if you truly want to take an extra step, you truly want to build your discipline to a new level, the biggest thing holding you back is watching haram. You will only go as far as watching haram. You will never go exponential if you don't fix this problem. And if you truly want a proven way to fix this problem, go and check the 3rd link in the description to annihilate your pee addiction for the rest of your life. I am telling you, especially now, we have an entire 2.0 update coming to this course that I created. It's going to make this process faster, simpler, easier to the point. Bismillah, in the future, when I finish this update, Bismillah, at the end of the year, we don't even have to really do anything. Just by watching the course, you would be quitting. Bismillah Azza wa Jal. May Allah Azza wa Jal grant me the ability to finish that. You can get it already and start going through the benefits of the current 1.0 version, which will help you start fighting back against this. And ultimately, in its real form, you can annihilate this from your life. So, Bismillah, check that out. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.